the final point of that, which leads into discipline, is I need to get you to form a relationship with your future self. Because everything that goes on in our life has to do with our mammalian brain, this lower part of our brain here, and it doesn't speak English. There's no affirmation that's going to penetrate that barrier. There's no like, I'm going to read a quote on a wall or a PowerPoint slide that's going to fundamentally change behavior. You have to change the animal, the mammalian part of the brain. So the question I ask everybody that I'm training is, how would I teach it to a dog? How would I show my goals if I'm setting goals for next year? How would I show that to a dog? Because I have to get it down to a mammal. So the fastest way to do that is through visual means. So I have all of my clients download this app. I can't remember the name of it. There's probably 100, but it makes you look like 95.
Yeah.
And you're just covered in wrinkles. It makes a lot of your hair kind of go away. And I make them print it out and put it everywhere just for a couple of weeks. And now we start developing a mental mammalian relationship with our future self, which changes how I eat, changes how I spend money. It changes maybe what time I go to bed, how much alcohol I drink, and mostly where I'm getting my dopamine from. If I draw a map of everywhere I'm getting my dopamine from, and more than 50% of it is on alcohol or porn or, all of these things that I don't want, you have to be very, very honest with yourself at that point of where do I need to get dopamine from in my life? And successful people, every single successful person that I've ever met has a good dopamine map. So they get dopamine from good sources instead of bad ones.
And is there a relationship between discipline and confidence?
I think so, very much. It's like if you and I were sitting in an airport together, let's say we're sitting in Atlanta airport, and I just asked you and you're not a behavior profiler, as far as I know, but I said, Stephen, look around and find somebody that's disciplined. It would take you 5 seconds because we don't need to profile people. That's a natural thing that you picked up on it on purpose, but we pick up on it unconsciously all the time. Yeah. So having that level of discipline elevates our level of confidence automatically because we know that other people are going to pick up on it, but we also know I'm moving up and I'm probably more in control of myself than the person that I'm talking to or the people that I'm dealing with regularly. So how we live off camera is coming through in our confidence. That's the exact thing that we were talking about, that environment, time, appearance. And if I can live off camera the same way that I want to be perceived by everybody in my life, my confidence already starts to grow.
And you said enjoyment as well was one of the 5.
Yeah.
Why is enjoyment important?
I added it on there. It took a while, but I walked through everybody I've ever trained, and if you look at everyone who is a natural leader and has that level of authority, they're not just partying in the moment, but just calmly enjoying what is happening now. So maybe you could call it mindfulness, but I think in just the trait of enjoyment and being in enjoyment is the most magnetic human trait that there is.
What do I need to know about observation, which is the second part of your triangle to successful failure? Observation, being able to read a room. Is it possible to be able to read a room?
Yeah.
How would I go about reading a room?
Okay, so if you're reading like a public area,
yeah.
Let's go back to the airport, maybe.
Yeah.
If I'm in a public area, I really want to pay attention to the slowest moving person in the room. I want to pay attention to who is more confident than the other person. And that's typically going back to speed. And if I'm reading other people well, I'm also making a lot of eye contact with them. Mm-hmm. So that's also one of the fastest ways to get a read on another human being is how often they're blinking. And if a person is blinking fast, it's a sign of high stress. Mm-hmm. If they're blinking really slow, it's a sign of focus. So it's not always relaxation. So if I talk to a psychopath in an interrogation room or in a business negotiation, and they're very focused on prey, so we call that a prey focus, because they're going to manipulate somebody, their blink rate will almost be a 0. If I talk to somebody who's being deceptive, their blink rate can go up to like a 75, 80 without us even knowing it. So one of the reasons that blink rate is so reliable is that it's unconscious. We don't realize the shifts in blink rate and we don't manually control it very well. And if all that I would ever need to teach somebody, you don't have to count or know how many times per minute it's going on, is if I'm in a conversation, I'm going to start the conversation and say, is the blink rate normal? Does it look fast? Does it look slow? So what I'm really looking for in human behavior are changes. Changes. So if I'm on stage, let's say I'm doing a keynote, and across the room, I'm making eye contact with all these people, and I start seeing an increase in audience blink rate, I know I need to change the subject or change the topic right away.
So would you be looking at one particular person?
No. So
generally,
yeah. So I would look at all of these eyes and pretend like I'm looking at one human.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Getting an average of the...
Yeah. So as I'm looking around, how many blinks do I see? And I'm going to pretend as if that was one human eye.